By devoting just 6 minutes each weekday for 1 year, you can read through the entire New Testament using David's servant's daily devotional, HeavenWord Daily. Order your copy at heavenword.tv.
Well, thank you, Jesus. I'm so glad that we get to be together again as we continue our chronological study through the entire New Testament. We're back in Matthew chapter 26, one of Matthew's longest chapters. Maybe it's the longest, I don't know, but it's a good one because this is the story of the Last Supper, Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane, his prayer there, Peter's denial, all that stuff, classic stories, and we can learn a lot about Jesus and ourselves and a relationship with him as we study it, okay? So we left off last time right around verse number 33. This is backing just a little bit. Peter answered and said to Jesus, "Even though all may fall away because of you, I will never fall away." He was directly contradicting what Jesus had just said seconds before. Jesus said to him, "Truly I say to you that this very night, before a cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times. Well, I can't resist saying this, but some people who are kind of like city slickers think, because they saw a commercial one time about Kellogg's cornflakes, that roosters only crow right at sunrise, or maybe just a little bit before. Well, I have some experience in this, not that I'm a farm boy, but because I'm a suburban, but I've traveled enough around the world and stayed in some pretty remote places where the chickens and the roosters are right outside. And I want to tell you, they don't wait for the sunrise and before they crow. In fact, my theory is they crow all the time, all night long, and they can crow at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or 4 a.m. And so this prediction by Jesus was not, well, within the next 10 or so hours, you'll be, no. This is going to happen just within a matter of hours. The guy who boasted that he would never deny the Lord is going to deny 3 times that he knows him. So in verse number 35, Peter sticks to his guns, God bless him. Even though Jesus has now twice affirmed, "Peter, I know you. I know what you're going to do. I've never made a mistake. I've never spoken, in error before since you've known me. I've predicted the future and been, got it 100 times out of 100. And so Peter, why would you argue with me on this? But Peter still has the audacity in verse number 35 to say, "Even if I have to die with you, I will not deny you." And I'm glad that Matthew added, and all the disciples said the same thing too. That way, Peter doesn't look quite so bad. Because everybody else was just saying, "That's right, Jesus, we're going to be loyal to you." And we are, as I've already said to you, apt to think that we're more devoted to Jesus than we really are. We would do anything for him if he just told us. But let's ask ourselves the question, am I doing what he's told everybody to do in his word and through his commandments? All right. New paragraph in the New American Standard starts in verse number 36. "Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to his disciples, 'Sit here while I go over there and pray.'" Have you ever had the blessing of taking a tour of Israel? Of course, they're going to take you to Jerusalem. They're going to show you the Kidron Valley where the Garden of Gethsemane was. They're going to show you the Mount of Olives. The Garden of Gethsemane was on the lower part there across the Kidron Valley. And you can visit a church there where there is an ancient olive tree garden. And wow, I think they say some of them are well over 1,000 years. Of course, this was 2,000 years ago, so we don't know if it's the same place or not. But you see these gnarled and twisted and knotty, rugged trunks of these trees that are contorted, and you just think, wow, if this is what it looked like in that garden where Jesus was praying, it is somewhat symbolic of the agony that he experienced. One of the gospel writers tells us that he prayed, and drops of blood were manifesting themselves because of the intense stress of the moment. So he said to his disciples in verse 36, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, that's James and John, of course, and began to be grieved and distressed. And, Jesus has been apparently perfectly composed until this moment in time. And yet, and he's certainly foreknown for a long time what's going to happen to him. He has predicted it, on the way to Jerusalem and while they're there and so forth, and after the Last Supper. And so it wasn't like he suddenly became more aware. Certainly what was about to happen was more imminent than it was just a few hours ago. But we do question why all of a sudden we see this much deeper emotional reaction from Jesus. And there are various theories. Nobody has given us, one that they can quote chapter and verse for and so on. But Jesus, I believe, was not just dreading the agony, the physical agony and the emotional torment that he would suffer on the cross as he hung there impaled for several hours, naked, as people mocked him, walking by right outside the gate of a major entrance to Jerusalem and so forth. He wasn't just dreading that, but something much, much more foreboding was in his mind, and that was taking upon him the sin of all the world, to the point where he would be crying out in his final breath almost, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And it's so terrible that there's darkness, for 3 hours. This was the most important moment in all of human history that we're aware of, because Jesus was taking upon him your sin and my sin, every evil deed, every evil thought, every evil thing that we've ever done, and for the whole world, all their sin upon him, and then God poured out his wrath, and in some way that I think is indescribable to us, and the Bible doesn't tell us exactly, okay? And so Jesus is deeply grieved, he says, to the point of death, and he tells his others, just remain here and keep watch with me. And we see him then going and praying and falling on his face. Okay, this story should be read slowly and very soberly, because this is the beginning of our redemption right here, okay? I'm going to keep on looking at it closely and slowly. I'll see you next time.
HeavenWord 7 is made possible by the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you.